first game had such a clean concept of like the unconditional love a parent feels for their child. The second one, once we landed on this idea of the pursuit of justice at any cost, justice for the ones you love, it felt like, oh, there's a clean concept here, and there's a through line from the first game about love. If we never get to do it again, this is a fine ending point. And right, last bite of the apple, the story's done. The great thing about working at Naughty Dog is that we don't have to. It's always like, we would love another Last of Us, but if you guys feel like are passionate about something else, we'll support this other thing. Very privileged position to be in. I never take that for granted.
Do it.
I've been just thinking about, okay, is there a concept there? And for now years, I haven't been able to find that concept. But recently that's changed. And I don't have a story, but I do have that concept that to me is as exciting as one, as exciting as two, is its own thing, and yet has this through line for all three. So it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to the story.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Go!
Is that they're ending it?
Yeah, twist their hand.
Blew my mind. I cannot believe they just cut to the end credits. I never wanted to rewind so badly.
Man. The minute he said 3, my balls, I felt like icy hot. Someone put icy hot on my balls. I was like, oh my fucking God.
Ah, shit, bro.
Here's the thing. That people have to remember that Neil pitched the idea of Left Behind and Part 2 to Ashley as soon as the first game came out in 2013, and they were at like some awards. So he was pitching already DLC and the second game. And you said it, Sam. You said, I wouldn't be surprised if either by the time the first episode of HBO season 1 starts or by the time the last episode comes out, that they announce that we're doing 3. And the fact that it has been hush-hush up until now, that like he's blatantly said, like, listen, I have an idea, no concept, but I have an idea. And saying it out loud and being like, okay, now I know why they haven't done anything. And I figured it as much because I heard there was a lot of layoffs and stuff like that. So fucking shit.
Right. And again, my big thing that I'm trying to make sure you guys that are watching, they gave you the timestamp. Like, this was recorded back in April 2023. He made this statement in April of 2023 that I only have a concept, but I know where I want it to go. And he said this recently changed, meaning that by the time he got done working on the production for season 1, thinking of the concept of how he's going to do season 2, he's already in his mind like, oh, I know exactly where I'm going to be establishing where this is going to go from a concept standpoint. So think of how many months it's been since April. That's all I'm going to say.
It's almost been a year.
And this is a very exciting time. I don't even have to hear anything for another year, honestly. Like, the fact that he just acknowledging all that is good enough for me, because I think the thing that's so great about this documentary, it shows how they work through all their problems, their process, concepts that they wanted. They wanted it to be completely open world. They wanted it to be layered on top of layer of building out. So like when we start traveling to different distances, this could expand what that looks like conceptually. They could go through different points in time.
Yo, this could be a casual question, but what made them drop that?
So they've been preparing for this for a while, because with the remaster, I thought when the remaster, I was talking to Ronan about this, I thought that they were going to release it with the remaster copy that they gave me to be able to review, and it wasn't there. And I was like, that's weird. Like they even put a trailer in there in the game for the remaster. And
they sent you the remastered version to review?
That's not about me.
No.
Wait.
He just like goes over that shit like nothing, bro.
No big deal. Yeah, like,
anyway,
subtle
for what my theory is that this is all intentional. You got them talking about people that they got the full cast, the primary cast for season 2 now. They're nailing out people that are going to be a part of season 2 that are other characters we never conceptualized or understood where this going to go, and all of it's lining up, like from a time frame standpoint. And so it's all intentional. They just been waiting to float how they were going to do it. In my personal opinion, I think it's just that this is how they wanted to really make people feel confident where they're going. In my opinion, I think that's where it all boils down to. But I don't know. Go ahead, Ronnie.
I'm actually gonna go last because I was freaking the fuck out. So I want to let Busy and Jor-El go. I want to let them go. I'm like, boys, what did you think of this documentary? Because you guys weren't anticipating that we were gonna watch this documentary. I have
no
my
idea
thoughts
this was
about it,
coming
but
out.
I want to hear what you guys think. So let's
Take
do
that
it. Busy.
icy hat off.
Yeah. Right now I'm rubbing. Anyway.
Go ahead, Busy.
Oh my god, dude! I had no idea this was coming out. So when when I got the message from Sam saying, "Hey, yeah, let's hop on the live to talk about The Last of Us," I was like, "All right, this could be fun." And then I hear Ronan mention the documentary. I'm like, "What the hell is he talking about?" And here we go. And I mean, that was an amazing 2 hours. It wasn't what I expected. The emotions, the frustration, everything that they felt, bro, like I felt it, man. I mean, that was a whole journey. I mean, not only did we have to experience some of these things that we weren't a huge fan of in the beginning of it, with Joel and all that crap, and then just to see how it all came together. I mean, just all the little things, man. It's just truly inspiring to see how much work, how much blood, sweat, and tears they put into this, man. And it was amazing. It was an amazing watch, and I truly don't know what else to say. I mean, a part 3 would be amazing. One thing that I would love to see is, we were lucky to get a Miles Morales game, and that was not a full game. So if we get the opportunity to get like a Tommy game, which would be only like 8 or 10 hours, I would absolutely love it. It'd be a cool little story, and it'd be something that I think would be an amazing opportunity. So I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Hey,
Jor-El?
I want hold on before he goes. When he talking about this whole Tommy situation, Tommy's got a lot of pain right now,
Mm-hmm.
and because of his injuries, he projected all that onto Ellie, but we don't know how he dealt with it. And it would be a very fascinating thing to see kind of what he becomes from that moment in a small little mini game leading up to the adventure story. So I think the Busy is on it for that. But yeah,
What
sorry,
if
go
the
ahead.
first mission starts off with him just killing Abby? Just literally taking away from everything that we did in part 2. You know how many people would be bullshit, dude?
Hey, look, nah, they're saving that for the game.
Hyping
Whatever.
him to be the villain of part 3. Some crazy
No,
shit.
no, I'm not gonna lie to you. He would be the perfect villain, in my opinion. I think it would. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Drew.
Well, I mean, the documentary, it was great, but I mean, at the same time, I don't know. I'm gonna have to try rewatching it again because we're like revisiting, like triggering sequences and shit. And it's like, man, but the ending was perfect. That was the part that almost wiped everything else away because, like, what do you mean? The part 3 is happening. It feels like maybe it might literally just be like a brand new story, brand new characters, and like somehow it just connects back to Ellie somehow. That's the vibe. That's the vibe that I'm getting. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I guess we'll see. Like how wild would that be if we like get wrapped up in this brand new story and we're just like, okay, question mark, and then like halfway through, like you see like this old woman and we realize that's Ellie,
Well, I'll say this. What's been coming out, and people have been asking all the actors, what do you think? What do you think about part 2 or part 3? And Jeffrey Pierce, the great Jeffrey Pierce, Uncle Tommy, has been like, the only thing I've told Neil concerning if we ever do a 3, he said, don't do The Godfather part 3. Don't do that. Don't do that. Good. And this, here's the thing you got to realize, guys, that, and everybody, not just you guys here, but everybody watching this. This year marks the 40th anniversary of Naughty Dog. It would be out of the realm of possibility if they didn't do something with that, or at the very least gave us something like DLC. I would not be surprised if somehow the Tommy story becomes like a very, very late delivered DLC on part two. And be like, all right, part two is there, or you bring it up as a comic book, or something else of the likes. I don't think that I don't think that's out of the realm for that. So it's this year's the 40th anniversary of Naughty Dog. So I'd be shocked if they didn't do anything big with that. And I've been talking to people who are big time collectors, people who are also covering this as well, and it's just like Crash Bandicoot, Jack and Daxter, Uncharted, Last of Us. It's like you already closed the book on a lot of those titles. This is the last one. Either, no pun intended, either you announce the new IP or you teased what part three is gonna do. And I'll also make a big prediction that if they do hold out on us for a while, I wouldn't be shocked if we would get something, a teaser or an announcement officially, until after season 2 of HBO show ends. At this point, because again, they're trying to, as the documentary said, they're trying to fix the workflow and all that stuff. That's their top priority right now. They're also doing a show that's adapting their beloved game, so they have to deal a lot of that with a lot of blowback that they're gonna get from the television point of view. Granted, it's HBO and they should be used to it. Fucking Game of Thrones. So I wouldn't be shocked if they do that for part three. And again, I've been saying this for years. Something like a Taz comic book or an adventure with Joe and Tommy of the early years and whatnot in a comic book or a DLC. But if you do part three, just be like, okay, in my opinion, don't make it too big like part two. Simplify it like one. And if you want to do the depth that it goes in part two of like volume and space, fine. But I would not be surprised if they do take a little page out of Logan for Ellie and point it to Ellie. Be like, can Ellie actually connect with someone after connecting with a father and losing him and falling in love and losing her and the adoptive son of her of Dina, and now she's on her own. I think that the question they could ask Ellie in part three, if they do with Ellie, is that like, can you love something? Because much like in Logan, he says, everything I cared for has died. Everything I connect to dies alone or leaves me alone. It's better for me to be alone. I think part three will be the one be like, you can be alone. You're gonna have to sit with it, that the idea that you're the only immune person, but you can love this world. Or much like how me and Jor-Els and Sam have talked about, is that she finds someone who is also immune, and now it's like, what do you do? Do you do the Jesus factor and you want to go and they have to sacrifice this kid to save everybody else? Or do you finally put the shoes on that Joel had to go through and be like, it's not an easy decision, but what do you do now that you found someone like that and you're alone? So that's what I'm going to say about part three, because we would have to make a whole another video for that.
Yeah.
By my tongue, because I heard that while at work. I was like, no, you're not. I heard it from some friend who said, look at what he said at the end of the documentary. I'm like, no, you're lying. You're lying. I'm going to watch the documentary. He didn't say that. He's been saying no to this whole time. But what I will say about this documentary is that I love that we gained the perspective from the crew. I love we felt the journey they went through, busting out this game. Having said that, maybe the naivety in me wants to be like, spend more time with Troy and Ashley and Laura to talk about how they went in and out about the characters and about that. Now, hopefully, once I get to the commentary of part two remastered, I can experience that a little bit more and whatnot.
Yeah, they go through all of that.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say, because I don't think we've talked about 3 or concept. I think me, you, and Jor-Els have talked about theories, but I don't think we've actually recorded it. But one of the biggest things that I've said to Jor-Els specifically is that Ellie has not been able to really fulfill what she's wanted from the first game, which is ultimately sacrifice. And she's loved, she's been alone, she's had pain, she's had trauma, but like having purpose from sacrifice is not something that she's been able to fulfill. And I think that from how the second game ended and where they're going towards, I think it's all about figuring out how to preserve life ultimately. And it's going to cost. And I'm not just talking about because of her decision, but cost her life. I'll say that openly. And I only say it once. I think that is got to be the destination. Now, as far as what they do conceptually with the story, I like Jor-Els' idea that they come from a completely different angle because there's another anime that did the same exact thing, and it played off beautifully. But I'm just excited that they're working on it. Like I'm at this point now, like the fact that they've confirmed that they've got a concept, they're moving forward with it. Even if they make another IP in between that time, they've already shown in this video that they were working on another game while working on that.
Mm-hmm.
So they could be working on that. And the thing that's telling to me is that they removed factions from out of it.
Yep.
They removed factions, they removed another concept, and they said, we got another IP and we got this. And they didn't say what this was. But now we basically know this is Last of Us 3 and whatever this other IP is. They can do both. They may have already been working on the other IP a little bit longer, which I think they said that with removing factions. So they probably were trying to count the costs. It was like, look, we can spend all our time with this, or we can make sure that factions is something that's grounded in whatever environment in the world they were building for The Last of Us 3. So I'm just excited. Like, this was a great documentary for me. It was a great experience seeing him going through all that. It's weird. We go through so much trauma from this game, but they went through their own trauma in trying to get it, like, created. Like, that's a lot, bro.
I can only imagine. I can't remember the day, but I remember the week that it was trending, that The Last of Us leaks, and how somehow, by luck or by faith, I avoided the spoilers. Somehow I was just ducking rocks and bricks and bottles and all that shit. Somehow I missed the spoilers, and I remember people being like, yeah, I've seen the spoilers, we'll see how it plays out. I'm like, no, that's the worst way to experience this fucking adventure. It's just like going blind. And I, from the get-go teasers, like, please, if Joel's gonna die, let him just find peace and let him at least say goodbye to Ellie. And how the tables were turned. And I remember also just how much Laura was getting at. And I remember feeling so, it was hard for me to communicate and just offer a little bit of tiny support to her, because I was so deep into that in that game and was filled with so much hatred and anger. But I knew very well when I dropped the controller, I'm like, but that's not Laura. That's a whole nother person. That's Abby's a whole nother person. Laura plays there, why not? And I remember just, I'm not trying to be cavalier, but I was just like, I remember sending a tweet somewhere to Laura. I'd be like, listen, I may be mixed in emotions with what's happening in the game, but I'm sorry for what's happened to you. I remember hearing so many interviews of what they were going through, and I'm just like, there's a line you don't cross, and people were just crossing them on a daily basis. And sadly, to this day, people are still crossing those lines in a day-to-day basis. So that's why I might even be more protective of Caitlyn Dever when season 2 comes about. Just be like, no. This time, I'm fighting fire with fire if it takes it anyway. Because I'm like, no, that's too much. They shouldn't go through. But I hope that the show is doing its best, being open, be like, get ready. Just get ready for the monster that's coming down.
Yeah.
But besides the documentary, which I'm glad you guys dug it, and besides that little tiny bit at the end, the little glimmer of hope of the seed being planted, I also want to tell you guys about another thing that was announced during the documentary while it was dropped. Do any of you know who Catherine O'Hara is?
I do. Kevin!
Yeah. There you go. So it was announced that Catherine O'Hara from Home Alone fame, and now also Argyle, is joining season 2 of HBO's The Last of Us. It's cool to have her be a part of this story, and a lot of people are thinking that she might be part of the Seraphites Scar Society, and she might be the figure that's in all the walls and all the iconography be like she was the one who started this movement that got twisted in time. So, what do you guys think of that? Of Catherine O'Hara being cast and being added to HBO's Last of Us? Busy, you're mute.
You're muted, bro.
It's not very professional of me. Anyways, so I'm currently going through Schitt's Creek right now, and I'm truly enjoying her in that.
I've heard that she's really good in that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it could be fun. I mean, I didn't even think of who, like the possibility of who she might play, but her being like one of the leaders, you know, the Scars, if you will. I think it's pretty interesting, and I think she could nail it for sure.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah, I've heard that she's really good in that series, and I mean, I think she's just a talented actress in general. I'm more curious about who she's going to be because I think they made the comment that she's not a character that everybody knows, but that doesn't mean it's not a character that isn't in the game because we know of certain people that were, I don't know, I'm gonna spoil it, were glamorized, fantasized about, and she could play one of those kind of characters. And so I think that more than anything, seeing what Craig and Neil bring out of actors, they're going to definitely elevate her. So I'm curious to see where they're going to go with it. It's a pleasant surprise. I'm just hyped to know that we're getting a second season.
Yeah. Jor-El, what do you think?
Gotcha. I mean, I just saw that terrible Argyle with her in it.
Damn.
And because of how she was in there, ironically though, I'm actually pretty confident of whatever she's got going on. I guess in Druckmann's universe. So yeah, I'm confident.
All right. Sam, what do you have brought up here? What is this?
You're gonna like this.
Oh, look at that! Look at that young stud.
Man's all dressed up.
When I came home, I was like, "What the heck is this?"
Sick. Freezing. That thing makes me
Yeah, emotionally compromised. Bro.
I was like, "What the heck is going on here?" Y'all see that blood dripping down?
Ah, he's admiring it.
Right. So I went back, and when they were talking about it in the documentary, like certain nuances and details, and I was like, I remember this. I remember the idea that became reality. But yeah, dude, like that was such a good documentary, man.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't gotta keep it on me, but I just went back through some of my reactions when it was coming out and how excited I was. And to Ronan's point, like I avoided anybody talking about it. Like some people just wanted to talk about it for clout. Some people were really curious and just couldn't help themselves without spoiling themselves. One of the things that me and Jor-El did really early on with that whole reaction games, we was like, we ain't gonna get spoiled. No matter what it takes, we will not get spoiled. And so thankfully I avoided spoilers during that time. And thankfully you did, Ronan. It was destiny that Jor-El didn't even know what the heck it was. So I don't know, Busy, if you avoided the spoilers or not, but
Nah, I was pretty clear. I think I was spoiled only because you know how like some of these reviewers get the games early
Yeah.
and like they'll
Mhm.
show like the thumbnail. So like for like say
no.
Suicide Squad, Justice League, that shit right now. Like I got spoiled because of the thumbnails that are popping up, and that shit pissed me off. I like don't even want to play the game right now. But
Yeah.
with that, it literally had a thumbnail of Joel, like you know, I'm just like, what the hell, dude?
yeah.
Like I didn't get the game early, I get it, but like this is just that's OD, bro. It's like
Yeah.
extreme OD. So I got spoiled. I did my best. I did so good staying away from spoilers, but until YouTube started popping the recommendations up and was hitting me with all these spoilers, that shit pissed me off, bro. I was doing
Yeah.
so well. Still enjoyed the hell out of the game, bro. I'm not gonna lie, but obviously that does ruin the experience a little bit.
I'm playing remastered right now, part 2 remastered.
Do you know what
And-
happens?
And you know, we're gonna do another recording sooner or later with me and Sam. And if you guys want to pop on, you're more than welcome to talk about remastered and the lost levels, which there's one that me and Sam were like, "Yo, this
Is that fire?
it's fucking."
It's
I
fire.
feel like they should have kept it.
Oh, it's
Um,
fire.
and
Yeah.
Does it give you that icy hot tingle?
You're talking about the post one, right?
yes,
Does it give you that icy hot
Oh.
tingle? Is
So,
that
so,
good?
so all we can say is that this one takes place after. That's all I'm gonna say.
All you
Leave it
can
at that.
say.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So you can imagine how we feel about that.
and what I'll say is that like I feel maybe the documentary it would have been nice if they spent some time with Gustavo and be like, okay, how did it go for you to make the music for this game? Because it's different, and they had to bring an extra, I think, composer or somebody else as well to make the music as well. But I would have loved to seen the journey that Gustavo had to go through to make some of the tracks in this and part two, because there's songs like there's Beyond Desolation. There's the last song they play in the game that is just gorgeously sad as fuck, and it's so good. I would like to see that, and yeah, I just seeing all those events, seeing how the community was before dark times, before the empire. I'm setting it stone right now, boys. That I'm like with this podcast and with this show, with this community that I'm building up. Me and Sam are building up with all these people being a part of the podcast. I want to be covering stuff to come from Naughty Dog, and I hope one day to be like, we're gonna be, we're there. We were there when they said, okay, one last time.
So when they show the documentary for part 3 and they show this this
Even-
little podcast, you're
Even
gonna shit
then,
yourself?
something yeah, sure, it would be nice, but it's something like being there. I remember, again, it's a weird time of being like, I remember waiting for that game and how I blacked out social media. I remember the first time I met Neo and how much jarring thing it was, and like I hope to do that again with you guys, with me, and hopefully we could record it and stuff and just see where this podcast can go. There's something cool about how this podcast is right now. I have so much ambition to see where it can go, and for the heck of it, even if we don't get any views, there's something cool about doing something like this that's Last of Us related with the community, and yeah, I have big ideas for it.
Yeah, and I think from now until whenever that game drops, one of my goals is going to be for us to have like a small sit down and just talk with Neil.
Yes.
And even if it's just talking concept or just thanking him, man, like for not giving up right before he squeaked through. Like, I think that'll be, if you watch this, Neil, that's one of the things that we want to talk to you about. Is just say thank you. I mean, well, some people are still traumatized by the things that you've done and the links that you've done. I can't deny your efforts, and from a cinematic standpoint to a gaming standpoint, like you've gone past. You've gone past one of the limits, and I think it'll help gaming in the long run for what he's done personally.
Yeah. I think we'll wrap things up. Boys, any final thoughts on the documentary, on the tease they did at the end for part 3 of Catherine O'Hara's casting? You guys have any last thoughts?
I'm sure she's gonna kill it. The documentary was an absolute blast. I mean, dude, a roller coaster of emotions, man. It made me feel everything again. And even though we've already experienced the trailers and everything for the first time, watching it with them, I felt the same energy I felt, watching it for the first time. And you can't really recreate that often. Specifically, with a lot of shows and stuff, you're like, I wish I could experience this for the first time. But just the way that they portrayed it in the documentary made me feel like I was experiencing it for the first time. And I always admire that.
Beautiful. Sam, Jor-El, any final thoughts?
Yeah, man. As a journalist / critic, I think this is a really well done documentary. What I wish is that they would have taken this documentary and stated, like, we're going to be taking this documentary to South by Southwest, and we're going to go and take it, to the circuits, because I think there's something about this documentary that I think other journalists and other critics would appreciate. The efforts to how they allowed the progression to go. Like, because certain documentaries, if they're done well, they crescendo. and then they just keep moving. And this was done really freaking well. And I think it'll also make people want to go back and see the first documentary. I think that'll be even more interesting to rewatch as well. But this was really good, and I am beyond excited and elated to know that The Last of Us 3 is happening. Whenever it happens, just the fact that we know, because for me, like, I want to see more of the story anyway, going past where we go from even the show. So I'm excited.
Jor-Els.
Like when part 2 was over, I was just like, listen, there's just nothing. And now all of a sudden Neil's like, there's something. It's like, I have no idea what that means. And it's like, I'm not even sure if I'm ready to process whatever this is going to be. But I'm ready for it. And the documentary was insane. Jesus. I almost don't even know. I almost don't even know if I can watch it again. It's just too much. It's just too much. There's something wrong with Neil. Goodness.
My final thoughts on the discussion, the part 3 announcement, the part 3 hope, the Catherine O'Hara casting, and this documentary, and what I went through. Again, I had only seen the first an hour and 40 minutes, and then the last 28 minutes, I was just like, what the heck? What does this mean? What does this mean? I can't really fully state how I feel emotions, but I do know somebody that can help me out, and I'm gonna give it to one of my favorite actors in the world, and that this is based on one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think this scene should tell you how I felt watching this documentary and discussing it with my friends. So I think this is how I felt.
Jesus H. Christ. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, Mary Magdalene, all the saints and martyrs, and Jesus. Did I say Jesus?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if your video got claimed from that clip alone, and not the 2-hour documentary we just watched.
Yeah. That man's about to win the Oscars getting claimed.
Boys, thank you so much for being a part of this.